Welcome, guys. My name is Seturaman. I'm the DevRel at Lava, and today we're basically hosting an AMA session regarding something called Spec Champions. We'll get into what it is, all the cool things that comes with it. So this is the basic agenda. Just before I start answering all your questions regarding this, just I'll give you a very brief overview of what Lava is, what is a spec, who is a spec champion, and how do you become a spec champion, right? So yeah, let's get started. So with Lava, the idea is Lava is essentially a protocol that any blockchain rollup developers can actually use to permissionlessly bootstrap access to their chain or service. What it means is that if I'm somebody who's developing a chain or a data service or anything, you can actually use the Lava protocol to allow access. You can use the protocol to actually let users use your chain or access your chain or data services without any kind of gatekeeping whatsoever, right? So you have a chain, you have a data service like Oracle indexing, whatever. You use the Lava protocol to allow access to users, just like that, right? No kind of gatekeeping or anything of that kind. So the thing is, like, when you look at it, you have a completely permissionless protocol. Like, anybody can come in and offer any services and users get to access it, right? So the major problem is, how does one know what kind of services are available? How does one know, what to expect? What is the kind of data or what is the kind of service that is being provided, right? So if since it's permissionless, the problem is, there will be, if you let everybody do or host any kind of services, there is a lot of chaos that can happen. So the problem is, like, you need to bring in some sort of standardization to the whole thing, right? It's right. Like, you need the consumers who consume all the services and the providers who provide the services to understand or have a framework within which they can actually provide the services, right? And that framework is basically what a spec is, right? Spec or specification. So the idea is, the idea behind the spec is that it is sort of like this blueprint. It is sort of like a blueprint that defines the APIs, provider, like a service providers commits to providing to the consumer. Meaning, it basically defines the kind of service that you're providing, right? Now, the gist of it is, there's nothing fancy or technical about it. It's basically a JSON file that defines all the methods that you're going to serve, all the cost, verification, every configuration of your service will be laid out in the form of a JSON file. For example, this is basically what spec looks like. This is the spec for the Cosmos Hub. So what happens is, people can actually refer to this spec and understand the kind of service that gets provided with the Cosmos Hub, right, on Lava. So here you can see, it details the kind of APIs, the kind of functions, the computational units that is required for each of the calls. Everything gets laid out in a very clean, neat JSON file, and this is basically what a spec is, right? It provides a blueprint for the service that is being provided, so that you have some standardization when it comes to the service that you're offering on Lava. So the next obvious question is, right? So you have the spec, which creates the blueprint for your service. So who exactly is a spec champion, right? So I mean, it is pretty obvious. A spec champion is basically the person who creates, maintains, and updates the specifications of a chain or a service, right? It's the guy who is responsible or who created this JSON file that documents all the configuration of a service. The guy who maintains it and updates it so that others can come in, like a provider can come in, use the spec as a guideline and provide his services, right? So you have, a JSON file that neatly defines the kind of service that is, that wants to be, that you can host in Lava. and you have the champion who's basically the author of that spec, and you can have providers who come in and use that spec as a reference to provide the services, right? So a champion basically creates these specs so that providers can come in, use the spec and as a reference or a guideline and provide the services, right? So this is the general idea. So when we say that we are, welcoming spec champions for, Stargaze, what we mean is we need people who are willing to create a spec around the services that they need to see around, Stargaze, right? So the thing is, like the question is, okay, like you have people who's writing all these things, maintaining all the spec and everything. So what is it, what does the champions get out of all this, right? You have, you spend time, writing the spec, creating this JSON file, defining all the services and everything. So the question is, what is it, what does the champions get out of all this? Well, I mean, the most direct one is like, the lava community will be eternally grateful. Like, see, the whole permissionless nature of the lava network comes with these specifications. Like if I see a chain or a service that or a data service that I want in lava, I can just go and write a spec, and people who are working with that service or a chain can come in and provide that service. There is no gatekeeping, right? Like this whole, anybody can come in and write a spec, get it approved from the community, become a spec champion, and providers can come in and based on the specifications that is mentioned in the spec, provide the service. So it's like, regardless of the scale of your blockchain or the type of data that you're serving, all it takes is somebody to, just create a spec out of what they want to see in the network and just, host it, like, get it approved by the community. That's it. So, champions, when you look at it, they are a very fundamental aspect of the lava network, right? Or the lava ecosystem as a whole, because they are the ones who defines or improves or increases the diversity when it comes to, what is available through lava, right? So whenever a new chain comes in, or or regardless of the scale or the type or anything, it's the champions who create and define and update and maintain the spec that, that people can use to offer the services on top of lava, right? So, the first thing, you will be, contributing massively to the lava community. And and another thing is like, when a spec champion writes a spec and a node runner or a service provider uses a spec to offer a service, the spec champion actually receives reward in terms of commissions, right? Think of it like this. I mean, the whole setup is basically like this. Think of it like a restaurant where you can go in, and if you don't see one of your favorite dishes, you can write a recipe, paste it on a wall, and any chef can come in and use that recipe to serve you the dish, right? So that's the general way this works. And every time the chef serves the dish based on your recipe, you get royalty points, right? So it's the basic, it's the same setup, right? You have spec champions who writes or authors the spec, the community approves it, providers or node runners use your spec to provide the services, and when they actually start using your spec, uh, you know based on the service that the providers give, they earn rewards and stuff. So a commission of that reward goes to the spec champions who created the spec that the provider is using, right? So it's not like, you're doing it, as a community service. You can actually earn from contributing the spec. Like I said, the spec and the spec creation is fundamental to the working of lava, right? All the new services, or all the new chain, all the data services, whatever that you see on top of lava is there because somebody took time and defined a spec, and the providers came in and actually started using it and offering services on top of lava. So we value the champions, right? So when they actually create a spec, we want them to have a fair share, of whatever, for all the efforts that they did. So a spec champion actually earns a commission, right? And the commission percentage is actually based on the DAO governance. Like I'll show you what it means. Like for example, when you author a spec, you can actually specify you can actually specify the percentage of commission that you need, right? And if the DAO or the community feels that it is justified, all good. You will get like 0.03 or 1 or whatever percentage of commission that you have specified in your spec, right? So you know uh, if you want to see a chain, if you want to access a chain, on top of Lava, just write a spec. A spec is basically a JSON file in which you outline every kind of APIs, all the calls, every configuration that you need out of the service. A provider comes in, uses the spec, and provides the service. And when they use your spec to provide the service, you actually earn a commission for it, right? So the champions, the authors of the spec, actually earns a commission for it. So the question is, now, I mean, the main topic, like what is the Stargate spec champion? So it's the same thing. Like we want people to author, a spec, that will help, node runners who's running the Stargaze node to offer their service on Lava, right? But we took it a step further, and the thing is, you already have a spec. Like our team, like when it comes to the spec for Stargaze, we already have a spec ready, right? So we are looking for people who can come in and update and maintain that spec. Like I think this link is already there in the event description. You can just go through it and see how the application works. So the thing is, you know we already have a spec for running the Stargate, like for node runners to provide the service for accessing the Stargaze chain. You just have to, like, we are looking for people who can come in, take ownership of it, maintain it, you know, and update it and keep it up to date, so that other providers can come in and use it as a framework for providing access to the Stargaze chain, right? And while submitting it, you just have to go to this particular GitHub repository, add your yeah, add your just create a quick PR out of it, add your spec, like just make sure that the spec right here is up to date. If you have to make any modifications to it, do it, and just add a PR to it. And you know just add in all the details, like create a Lava address so that we know where to send your commission rewards, put your Discord username. And the thing is, you can do more. It's not just it's not like you're just done with writing and maintaining the spec. Like you can even be a provider. Like if you're running the node, you can still be a spec champion. Like you can create a spec out of it and run your own node. Like you can get the spec approved by the community and be the first to actually provide the service for it. Like run a node around that spec. So for all these things, or all of the additional services, or all the additional support that you provide for the community, you can increase your commission percentage, right? And also, just so that the community knows who, or who is behind this thing, just write a nice 500-word thing just to describe why you are doing what you're doing, right? So it's that simple. So the idea is that we want you guys to come in and maintain the spec for the Stargaze chain, right? So that providers like node runners can come in, use your spec, provide the service for developers, so that you are basically making the access to the Stargaze chain much more easy. Right? And so, any questions that you have till now, like regarding any of the things, like spec champions, the whole process? Anything? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I mean, like, I have a bit of bonus for the Stargaze community. Uh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. So there is a bit of a extra bonus. See, the Stargaze community is actually launching an incentive pool. So this is especially for people who are actually running Stargaze nodes, right? The Stargaze community is actually, launching an incentive pool on Lava for node runners for delivering fast and reliable access to the Stargaze chain. So if you are a node runner, all you have to do is join Lava, and based on just join the Lava network, and based on the quality of your service and the computational units that you serve, you can actually start earning rewards in stars. I mean, see, the commission, it can be like, if it is justified, it's up to you. Like I said, uh, you know, for champions, it can go like, it usually falls between 1% around that. But again, it's clearly up to you. Like, if you think that, just make sure that you justify the amount of commission that you have given. Like, it's ultimately the decision of the community to actually go with the commission percentage. So you have I'll just share the link so that you can get an idea of what is the average commission percentage that people are using. Like, all the major spec that we are using here, all the specs that have been there on the chain is there in this GitHub. You can just look at the different commission percentage or the contributed percentage and get an idea of it. But again, if it's reasonable, the community will approve, and it's all yours. Well, I mean, if it is inactive, then a new person can just step in and get the role. Like I said, create a new proposal and say that, okay, this is not maintained. Here I am with the new spec that is updated, maintained, and everything. So let me be the new champion. And yeah, so this is the link for the Stargaze uh, spec champions. Again, with Stargaze, it's much more easy because we already have a spec. We just need someone to come in and take ownership of it, right? Somebody who's saying that, okay, I'll maintain it for the community, and update it and maintain it for the community. So any questions? And of course, like, this is another major one. Like, if you are already running a node on Stargaze, join Lava, based on the spec, just provide the services and earn rewards. Like, add that to in stars. So there's that. And the pool actually goes live on October 17th. So monthly, based on your service and the computational units that you have actually served, you'll be getting monthly rewards. So yeah. Questions? Anything? Yeah. So it takes like I would suggest, like, start applying. Maybe so the 17th is coming quite quick. So we need people to come in and or take ownership of the spec. So I would suggest, like, a good 1 week, like the next week, to at max just do it by next week, because we are launching the incentive pools and everything by 17. So try and have your spec application, like the champion application, by next week. Yeah, yeah. The link that I shared about. So this is an additional bonus for people who are actually running the nodes. Like, the spec champion link is the one that I shared about it. Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, you can actually do that. Like, that's the basic idea behind the computational units, like the server cost and everything. So what you can do is you can just benchmark each of the API calls, like the one that you do with the Stargaze chain, and based on that benchmarking, like, just look at what is the amount of hardware requirements, RAM, all those requirements that an API call needs, and based on that, you can create a baseline for the cost. Like, you can say that, okay, for this particular API, it costs like 10 computational units. So based on this, you'll get the rewards, like, based on the you know computational units that you serve. So the only thing is, if you're setting the computational units, just put the benchmark so that the units are justified. That's it. Just create a benchmark for the API calls. Just submit it with your application, and say that, okay, this particular API call costs 10 units, and here's the proof, like here's the benchmark. So it is all justified, and the community will be like, let's do it. So that's it. So it's all about like the computational unit. You guys know it, like since you guys run the hardware or the nodes and stuff, you guys know or the computational requirements. So just create a benchmark of it, create a baseline of what one computational unit is, and you can just mention that, okay, for this API call it costs 10 or whatever. So any other questions? So we have something for the champions, like people can come in and take ownership of the Stargaze uh, spec, and we have something for node runners. You guys can join Lava based on the spec. You guys can provide your services and get rewards, monthly rewards. So yeah. Yeah, so for one spec, it'll be the one champion. Like so everybody can the thing is, like, everybody can submit their spec. The community will decide which they will go with, and that will be that person who authored the spec will be the champion. Any other questions regarding spec or the spec application? I think I've already provided the link for that. Again, with Stargaze, we already have a spec. We are looking for somebody who can come in and maintain it. And everything that you need to get started with spec is already there in the docs. I'll share the link, on creating and maintaining and everything. It's already there in the Lava docs. I'll just share the link here. So yeah, you can use this as a reference to see, how we actually design spec. It's like I said, it's just a JSON file where everything is mapped out, like all the services that you're doing, all the calls, everything is mapped out. That's it. So yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's like just the whole idea is, like I said, we are trying to create a permissionless network where anybody can come in and, host any service, right? Any chain, host access to any chain or any other data service, right? And right now we really like, Stargaze. Of course, you guys know it, right? Like, we want this awesome protocol to be there on Lava so that developers can come in and easily access the chain. And we have the spec ready. We just need somebody who can take ownership of it and you know maintain it so that everything, like all the services and everything, is proper. And those who are already running Stargaze nodes, you can also join Lava network because Stargaze is actually opening up an incentive pool, like setting up an incentive pool. So based on the quality of your service and the computational units that you serve, you will get monthly rewards, that too in Star. So yeah. And the pool goes live on 17th. Now this is for people who are actually running the nodes. Awesome. So yeah, like, if in case you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm also part of the server, the community, and everything. So yeah, right then. Thank you for your time. In case of any questions, feel free to reach out.